Hello, and welcome to the Creative Academy Blue Pencil Session. I am Eileen Cook. I'm here today with my colleagues, Crystal and Donna, and we are very excited to be tackling Rena's YA, which I first off have to say, I just love the title that she put on this YA. It's called Dear Dad, I'm Moving to Ecuador. So I just thought that was a very fun title, and I'm pretty impressed because I'm terrible at titles. So the first thing we should probably talk about is this starts with a diary entry. And when we were discussing this, we had some mixed feelings. So Crystal, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, I'm always hesitant with things that start with diary entries just because you're sort of immediately removed from the action. Like you're starting with a reflection scene, which often feels like a way to ease in information. So that for me is just always a sticking point, that anything that starts in diary is trickier. So yeah, that may be just a personal thing, but that caught my attention.
And it caught my attention too, because I really loved it. In fact, I got really into the story, and my reaction was the opposite of Crystal's. When chapter 1 came along and the voice changed, I thought, oh, it doesn't feel as personal or as, deep point of view maybe. So I was actually really loving the journal entry and the voice of the journal entry. And it drew me in and kept me more than chapter 1 did, or the first pages of chapter 1. So I guess
I think that's perfect, which I'm telling people all the time, that there is an element of just sort of what some people like and other people don't. In terms of me, I do think you had a deeper point of view, which is easier to do with a diary entry. So my challenge to you would be, how can you keep some of that voice when you're writing in the first chapter? Because it really does come through in that sense. But I would also say I might make that diary entry a little bit shorter, because similar to Crystal, I want to get right into things. So I might just have a few lines from a diary and then jumping right in from there. And I know it's only 1 page, but even that, just for me, what gets interesting is what we have next, which is that she's made this move to Ecuador. So when we look at the next part, the sort of chapter 1, what kind of thoughts did you guys have? I'll start with you, Donna, this time.
Okay, well, I guess one of the things that I was trying to figure out right from the beginning was around this boy. So in the very first paragraph, we learned that they're moving to Ecuador because mom has to see about a boy. And I thought, like, I'm not clear if they're adopting a child, if this boy is, how the boy is related, or if Kate, is that her name? Yeah, Kate. If Kate is just being snarky and referring to her mom's new boyfriend as a boy. So through this whole chapter, I was actually a little bit confused about why she was there.
And the same was for me. I actually made the assumption that they were adopting a child. And then I didn't understand why they were going to be there for a full year to adopt a child. And it was only towards the end of it that I understood that the boy seems to be referring to mom's boyfriend. That's how I take it by the end of that kind of sample that we have. But I still had tons of questions. And you'll hardly ever hear me argue for more backstory, but this is one time when I might. Like, I wasn't clear if she has ever met Josh before, how much warning they had before they were picking up and moving, any of those kinds of things. How about you, Crystal?
Yeah, very similar. The bits I flagged, it wasn't until we got to the point where they were going to go into work together that I was like, wait, okay, so this isn't a kid. It was definitely not coming through. The very first reference in that diary entry, I thought, oh, okay, she's like making fun of her mom's boyfriend because I guess maybe he's younger than she is. Like the boyfriend is younger than the mom. That might be a thing that she would be sort of in the snarky voice. I did really like the voice in the diary entry. So like Eileen said, like mixing those two together and finding a way in that voice to communicate the position here. Like what is it? Just a little bit more of the context would be valuable in terms of anchoring the reader and anchoring our thoughts of Josh. Like, is he some young tech whiz, or is he, why are they in Ecuador? So many questions.
So many questions.
It's good. Yeah.
And one of the things I want to say is I think this is a great setup for a story. So I have no idea if Rena has been to Ecuador or not, but there's a lot of fun details coming up. And there is a lot to be said because teenagers at the best of time feel like a fish out of water anyway. But how disorienting it must be to be starting over in this new country. And so, all the details about sort of the milk person, coming by and calling out for fresh milk, and that the fresh milk tastes so different, which for me was an interesting detail that I didn't know. The bars on the window and how that might feel if you've been like kind of in a traditional suburban home. So there's a lot of that fun stuff. And I also really liked the voice. But as someone who reads a lot of YA and writes in YA, I just want to put a little hanger on this. I think her snark works really well in these kind of opening chapters because she's a little bit cranky and irritated, but make sure that she's not snarky and negative all the way through. And the biggest reason for that is we want to make sure that we like her. So she can be darn snarky, and let's be honest, anyone who has a teenager will vote that they often are, but just kind of, making sure that you're balancing that out with some of the sweeter, more vulnerable moments will be good. Other thoughts, ladies?
No, I'm intrigued. And it's interesting. There are so many questions. Some of them really need to be answered, and of course, some of them don't yet. But I think for me, the biggest one is, who is the boy and why is it 1 year? Like, she counted 364 days left. So whatever this is, it's very specific. Maybe I don't need to know why 364 days, but I need to know who this man or boy is.
Yeah, I think that is, and I would argue that is the biggest thing that will make the biggest difference in this piece, is to understand what the stakes are. That might be another way to put it. Like, why are they moving here? Is there no chance that she can go back? It's clear to me she doesn't like being there, but what's all involved, I think, will make a big difference. But definitely, again, a great setup for a YA. And I think having it take place in Ecuador gives it a little bit of a different punch and feel that'll hopefully garner you some attention from readers or agents or editors or all three.
Mm-hmm.
One more tiny little thing, just with the title being Dear Dad, I'm Moving to Ecuador, that's what I thought we were reading in the opening. Like, it sort of set up the expectation that might be who she's writing to at the very beginning. So I don't know if there ever is a letter that she writes to Dear Dad, I'm moving to Ecuador, or we get snippets of that somewhere or whatever, but it would be nice to deliver on that promise a little bit if you're looking for a way to kind of explain some things in that context, and you wouldn't have to maybe justify in the same way why it's not a text message, because you can use WhatsApp anywhere in the world. Like, does she just not have a phone? So, there's some questions, because I know if we move our teenager around, she finds ways to stay in touch with her friends. They're not out of touch for very long. So just something to ponder with that opening bit and delivering on the Dear Dad part, because I'm so curious how she would phrase that letter. So hopefully that comes up somewhere, because I think that's really fun.
It was a great title. All right, Rena, keep writing. And for everyone else, you should be writing too, and be submitting, if you'd like, to our Blue Pencil session, where we'd be happy to take a look at your pages. Until then, we'll see you around the Academy. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.